Hello and welcome to week 41 of the Ray of Hope Crochet Along, and this week we're making the cross stitch. So this stitch is made in quite a normal way, except instead of doing a yarn over, you yarn under. And just making that little change creates this really beautiful look. So how do we make it? Okay, so for this stitch we're going to use a 3.5mm hook. And we're going to start the first two rows as we would any of our triangular rays. You start with a chain of 22, and in the fourth chain from your hook you're going to make a double crochet, and double crochet in each stitch across. Your turning chain counts as a stitch, so you'll have 20 stitches. For row 2, you turn, chain 1, and make the alternate turning chain over the first two stitches. Double crochet in each stitch across until you have 2 stitches left, and over those last 2 stitches double crochet 2 together. Okay, so row 3, and we're going to start our cross stitches. So we turn and chain 1. Insert your hook into the next stitch, but instead of yarning over like this, you're going to yarn under, and then bring your yarn through, and then yarn over. You can yarn over or yarn under for that one. What matters is the first yarn under. So insert your hook, yarn under, and then pull through. Insert your hook into the next stitch, yarn under, and pull through. Okay. So these are just single crochets. It's just that we've got this yarn under instead of yarn over. So insert your hook, yarn under, and then finish the stitch. Insert your hook. Make sure your hook is just over the top of your yarn. Pull through, then turn it over and finish the stitch. Okay, so you can see how they look a little bit different. They don't show itself very much in the first row, but as you keep going, that look will come through. So just into the stitch, yarn under, pull through. It's important that you don't turn your hook until after you've pulled through the stitch. So into the stitch, put your yarn hook over the top of the yarn, pull through, then twist and finish the stitch. Yarn under, pull through, twist and finish the stitch. Okay, so you can already see it doesn't look like a normal single crochet. Okay, so you wouldn't normally see these bars at the front. And you're just going to do this for every stitch across. So this is actually a really simple stitch. It's just a single crochet, but just changing how you pull the yarn through the stitch makes quite a big difference to the look. Okay, so remember, don't twist your hook until after you've pulled your yarn through. And it's that twisting that makes it cross. Okay, so I've got the last 2 stitches, and in the last stitch as well, do the same. Okay, now I want to keep all these cross stitches on the same side of the ray. So unfortunately that means we're going to be cutting off at the end of the row. So I'm afraid there's going to be a few yarn ends for this stitch. I'm going to finish that, and I'm going to go back to the start of the row. And I'm going to join into that first stitch, which is there. Okay, so join, chain 1, I'm working back into that first stitch. We're going to do our cross stitches again. Yarn over, pull through. Just mark that stitch. yarn over, pull through. So I'm just going to be doing all the cross stitches again, and we should now start to see that pattern really coming through. So if you look now, you can see it much better in this row. You can see got the bars, and you can see the other one crossing the other way. So it looks much more like a cross in this row. You can see it a bit in that row below, but it comes through better after the second row of them. So if you keep your tension loose, that also helps really be able to see them. And they just look like cross stitches. So if you've ever done a cross stitch, it looks exactly like one of those. Just a little X. You see them coming through? And it's as simple as that. It's a really, really nice easy stitch. It creates quite a good look. So if you're doing this in the round, you won't need to cut off, you just keep going around because it's all on the same side. But doing it in rows, you do need to cut off after every row if you want to keep all those stitches on the same side. So if I turn over, it just looks like single crochet. Okay, so we're going to be doing 6 rows. No, quick count. So rows 3 to 8 are all cross stitch, and you do have to cut off at the end of every row. So I'm going to carry on with that, and I shall see you at the end of row 8. Okay, so I've just finished row 8. You see I've got these lovely, lovely cross stitches, all just by doing yarn under rather than yarn over. The downside to keeping them all on one side is that there's all these ends to weave in. For the next few rows we're going to go back to double crochet, then we're going to do another section of cross stitches, and then we'll finish the row in double crochet. Okay, so after row 8 you don't need to cut off, you can keep your yarn attached, and you're going to turn, chain 1 and make the alternate turning chain 2 together over the first 2 stitches. Okay, so row 9 is a decrease row. Okay, and then you're going to double crochet in each stitch across. Oops. And you're going to do that until you've got 2 stitches left. And then over those last 2 stitches we're going to make a double crochet 2 together. Okay, so I see the bottom of this where the cross stitches are. This is the back of them. Now, as you can see, it's a different texture to a normal single crochet where you yarn over, but yeah, no nice crosses. So if you're doing the cross stitch in rows, you have to cut off at the end of each row to keep it all in the front. If you were working in the round, you could just keep going, and it would all be on the same side. Okay, so this is row 9. We're going to go down to 16 stitches with this decrease. Then rows 10, 11 and 12 are going to be double crochet in every stitch across. And then row 13 we're going to do another decrease row and bring us down to 14 double crochet in each stitch. Okay, I'll just finish this row. And double crochet 2 together over the last 2 stitches. Okay, and then turn. So we're back to the front. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and do the next few rows. So now I've got 3 rows of double crochet in every stitch, so I'll have 16 double crochet in each row. For rows 10, 11 and 12 and then row 13 is another decrease row in double crochet. So I will come back to you at the end of row 13 where we decrease down to 14 stitches. I shall see you in a moment. So I've just finished row 13 and I've decreased down to 14 stitches. So now I'm going to turn. Okay, so at this point, once you've turned, your bottom set of X stitches should be the right way up. Okay, so we should see the X stitches once you've turned. And row 14, we're going to do another row of X stitches. I'm going to chain one, and in that first stitch, just make an X stitch as we did before. So this is exactly the same as that first section. It's just that this time there's 14 stitches in every row. And just yarn under. So remember, in this first row, the X's aren't going to show up too well. It will be the next row before they really start showing through. And just make sure you don't twist your hook round until after you pulled your hook through. And just exactly the same way as before. Once you get the hang of it, it goes quite quickly. Okay, so rows 14 to 20 are going to be X stitches. And yes, we do have to cut off at the end of each row again. But we'll just go quickly, even if we do have to spend a bit of time weaving in ends at the end of this one. Oops. There we go. I snapped my nail now, I can't pick up my scissors very well. So I'm going to pull that one out, and I'm going to rejoin at the beginning again, so no turning, just join back at the start of the previous row. So just pull through, chain one, and in that same stitch make a cross stitch. Okay. And just carry that on until you get to the end of row 20. So I'm going to carry on with that, and I shall see you at the end of row 20. Okay, so I'm at the end of row 20, and that's the last of our cross stitch sections. So we've just got the two small sections, and all your crosses should be on the same side for both sections. Okay, so from here on in we're back to double crochet, and we're going to finish the array as normal. So after row 20 you don't have to cut off. So we're going to turn, chain one, and this is a decrease row. So we're going to double crochet the alternate turning chain two together over the first two stitches, and then double crochet in each stitch across until we get to the end, and when you've got two stitches left you're going to double crochet two together, and that's going to bring you down to 12 stitches. So then after that we carry on the way as before. So you'll then do 3 rows of double crochet in every stitch, then a decrease row, 3 rows of double crochet in every stitch, and a decrease row. Okay, so for this stitch there are 46 rows in total, and your decrease rows are rows 21, 25, 29, 33, 37, 41 and 45. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and finish this array, and I shall see you in a moment and show you what we're doing for our slip stitch border. Okay, so I finished the array and I've got my 2 sections of cross stitch. This stitch does come out better if you keep your tension loose. Okay, so for the slip stitch border you're going to make a slip stitch in every stitch across the bottom. Okay, so you'll have 20 slip stitches. For the long sides you're going to make 1 slip stitch in the side of every cross stitch row and 2 slip stitches into the side of every double crochet row. Remember, when we get to the end, that final row, you've got 2 slip stitches on one side but only 1 in the other. So you'll end up with 78 slip stitches down one side and 77 down the other. Once that's done, you can go ahead and weave in your ends. That is the downside to doing it in rows. The cross stitch, they end up with lots and lots of ends. But then you can join it to last week's ray. So I hope you enjoyed that one, and I shall see you next week for week 42. Bye for now.